I am your host, Doc Rodden, and this is Horror News Radio, the official gruesome magazine podcast. Back with me again this week are the scariest, goriest, bloodiest co-host on the net. Tonight we're reviewing Nope from writer-director Jordan Peele, and tonight is our 500th episode.
Whoa.
Yes, and we have some news at the end of the podcast to talk about where we go from here. So if you give a...
I'm going to guess 501.
Go ahead.
501 would be the next common step to go there.
All right, so let's get into it. Let me introduce the crew. Hanging out with me here tonight is lead news writer at Gruesome Magazine, Dave. Dreher, how you doing, buddy?
500 episodes, Doc. How the hell did that happen?
Yeah.
That's a lot of Monday nights.
A lot of Monday nights just hanging out. Hanging out, man. All right.
Talking movies.
Talking movies. Also joining us tonight is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore.
I've been seeing stuff around. Have you guys seen any? I feel like people are watching me. I don't know about you, but just
the cloud's moving too much. The cloud's moving too much, Christopher. Did you not watch the movie? The cloud is stationary.
This is my version, okay? My cloud moves in this version because I've got special effects and money, like $5 and cotton swabs. So.
Cotton swabs. Oh, brain cloud. We got a brain cloud. All right. We want to welcome special guest host and film committee member from the New York City Horror Film Festival, the one and only Brian W. Smith. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm actually one of many, but I'll take the one and only moniker.
One of many. One of many. We have one of many here, folks. Also, sweltering in the heat of New York City in the dog days of summer, right? Oh,
yep.
Goodness. Yeah, it's a hot summer. And you know what's hotter than this summer? It might be this movie, Nope. Let's talk about it, shall we?
Nice segue.
Nice, very nice segue.
All right, so what we're going to do tonight, folks, is as soon as we get over this train wreck, we're going to give you our first impressions. So that will be spoiler free. Then we're going to dive into a discussion. We will get into spoilers because you know what this movie has? Spoilers. There are spoilers to be had. And then we're going to wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. Oh boy, I'm actually looking forward to that. Let's take a look at the card, shall we? Nope. 2022 from Universal Pictures, available in theaters on July 22nd, 2022. The synopsis is: the residents of a lonely gulch in inland California bear witness to an uncanny and chilling discovery. In the clouds. Written and directed by Jordan Peele. The cast includes Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, Brandon Perea, I almost said it right beforehand. Perea, Michael Wincott, Stephen Yeun, Wrenn Schmidt, Keith David, not to be confused with David Keith, Devon Graye, Terry Notary, Barbie Ferreira, and Donna Mills. Yes. Donna Mills. That was awesome. All right, let's get into our first impressions, and let's start off with one and many. Brian W. Smith.
He is Legion.
Nope. I was intrigued, from the initial teaser trailers and the posters, and Jordan Peele is very cryptic with his work, and he gets butts in the seats in that regard. So. I just saw it last night, so I'm still processing and in some ways still digesting. Wink. I enjoyed the film. I saw it in IMAX. I think if you're going to see it, I do recommend seeing it on a big screen just to get the full effect of, why they made it and why it was made. And I think, a lot of people are talking about there's a lack of originality out there, and he's presenting something that's original. I may not have liked the structure was a little wonky to me at times, but there are some real striking visuals, some really haunting and horrifying imagery that's still on my mind that I have to revisit. I'll have to revisit it again just to sort of go through it and finally clear my conscience of it. But yeah, there's some really good imagery that I was surprised by, and I'm not quite getting. I see that it's divisive online, but we'll get into that. We'll talk about it, but we'll get into that. But I like it.
We'll get into that. Yeah, well, I guess we will. All right, Dave Dreher, sir, you're up next. What was your first impression of Nope?
I'm kind of with Brian. I just seen this morning. I went to at 10:30 in the morning.
Nope.
This morning, and I'm still kind of processing it as well. I think, as all you guys know, I have not been the biggest fan of Jordan Peele's work since he started putting out these films. But to date, this is my favorite of his so far. I found it to be real intriguing. It started out really unusual, which I'm sure we'll get into, with the whole monkey. I was like, "What the hell am I watching?"
Chimpanzee. It's not a monkey. It's a chimpanzee.
And it kept me intrigued all the way through how all this was going to tie in and what it was going to become. And the ending was equally as intriguing. What we end up bearing witness to was kind of fascinating. So my first impression is I enjoyed this film much more than I anticipated I would.
Much more than you anticipated. I will take that, sir. Thank you. Christopher G. Moore, what was your first impression of Nope?
Yeah, I definitely want to add to what Brian was saying about like people. I mean, I hate the thing people always say there's nothing original in Hollywood. And look at all the films we've seen just this year, like Black Phone, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Nope. I mean, these are original type stories. Yeah, they're maybe based around concepts or ideas that we've seen before, but not in this way. And I think you can definitely tell, with each one of his movies, he has certain influences and stuff. And this definitely has a little bit of Spielberg influence. There's definitely things like Close Encounters, or even Jaws to some degree. And I don't know, this is one of those movies that I'm still thinking about, and I saw it last Thursday, and I had my friend Amanda. I was actually in the movie theater when they came out, and they were blown away by it. And I don't know, this is one of those few times where the wow factor was there for me.
Mm-hmm.
You have things like Jurassic Park when you see like the dinosaurs, or you see Terminator, with the T2, there's all those specific moments that kind of wow you and make your jaw go agape. And there was moments like this for me. And granted, this definitely goes into my wheelhouse of fears. Because I hate wide open spaces. I hate tornadoes. I hate. I've actually seen a couple of UFOs actually.
Yay!
And so that kind of, well, I don't know if you yay, but and that stuff kind of scares me. And so and I've done films where the horror takes place in the daylight, and I think that's the scariest place horror could happen. Any kind of horror can happen in dark space because you have limitations to what you can see, but out in the middle of nowhere, that's even creepier to me. And I think, and then there's underlying themes and elements that that have started to sunk in, and I'm starting to realize there's more to this than just the main story. I think the sort of like I guess I've compared to Pulp Fiction in that the story's not linear, sort of. I mean, there are parts of it linear, but then there's other parts where we have flashbacks that we go back and forth that can probably throw some people off. In fact, like Dave and us were like, what is this? But I think also, like, if you've seen trailers, the trailers kind of throw you off of what you thought it was going to be.
There's a lot of misdirection going on.
And it does things, I think, really kind of blow me away. And it's made me think even more and more about this film. But yeah, I think visually it's really cool. I mean, I still like Get Out is my favorite, but this definitely is above Us storyline. And but yeah, I think it's got some great performances in it. It's got some really haunting imagery. It's got some stuff like, oh God. That goes into my other fear of being in cramped spaces, things like that. But yeah, it's and especially when there's certain things you find out later, it's like, oh, that's why I'm hearing that weird sound. So things like that. I think the sound design is so great because there's moments where there's like, you just hear sounds, you don't hear music, and you're like, oh crap, what is that? So yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a really great story that has a lot of great, powerful moments, and And at the same time, there's also underlying elements I like too, especially when it comes to Hollywood and the underlying elements that tie into that.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it one step further and say I love this movie. I will even I want to actually kind of address. I heard a couple of people online say that it wasn't a horror film. This isn't a horror film, and I'm going to say, I'm saying this is a horror film. This is a creature feature. I'm going to put that out there. It's a creature feature. This is a monster movie, and it's a horror film, and you're going to love it. And I did. The cast is fantastic. Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer are fantastic with dysfunctional brother and sister, but you can see the connection, and the connection is a big through point for it, and part of some of the themes and everything, and of course their family businesses. There's just so much of it in the Hollywood aspect of it, like you were saying, Christopher. There's a lot in here, below the surface and at the surface and maybe above the surface. It is. I really was just kind of captured by the spectacle of it, right? It's these great open vistas that we see that they capture. It just makes it. I don't know. It just makes it much more powerful. That it's out there and you're dealing with this. And I was all about it. At some point, you got to have a discussion about Jordan Peele's films. Each one is unique. That's good. He definitely has his, Daniel Kaluuya is definitely his muse, if you will. And those two, but I still like Us. I don't know. I like all of the films. I really like his voice. I like his direction. I can see him growing in choices and what he's doing and scope, right? And scope, if nothing else. And I'm impressed with this film. I really enjoyed it. So let's get into this. Let's get into some spoilers, and let's get into some discussion. All right. So I want to address the one thing that confused me, and it took me a while to kind of understand the parallels, or fully embrace the parallels. I recognize the parallels, but I didn't fully embrace them until, like you say, you chew on it for a while, right? This film goes home with you. You think about it, and I like those kind of films. But we have the chimpanzee, and it's the story for Ricky and his past with this chimpanzee, which was, let's see if I can, Gordy, right? Is horrifying, but it also fully relates to not only what the Haywoods are doing, but also with what Ricky's doing, right? In Jupiter Hollow or whatever that is that he's building. Jupiter's Claim, right? And there's just so much going on. But at first, I'm rambling. I'm sorry. At first, I was like, did it go anywhere? Did it satisfy the story? And it took me a while to reach that it did. What about you guys? What did you think of the Gordy backstory?
Well, first of all, if anybody's watching this, we're in spoiler territory. So
spoilers.
I know. I think most people are kind of confused, I guess. But then if you look at the whole, there's an underlying theme with like tokenism in Hollywood and stuff, which even the father gets killed by a token, a nickel in his head. So there's so many things that sort of like there's an underlying thing to all this stuff. But whether it's and the chimp is just like a lot of tokenism when it comes to using animals or using even people, and it's I think that's the cool thing about this is about like even like these ranchers who've been part of the system from the get-go, but they're still trying to get their foot in the door and to become famous or to be known, for what the great grandfather was into, and they're still having a hard time of it. Huh? Great. Yeah. And so they still, they're still having a hard time of it, which is, and that just, again, there's that underlying theme. Even the Jupiter character, who was, I really feel like that there was sort of references to, what's it, the kid from Temple of Doom who was in the recent film, Keke Kwan.
Yeah.
I think they're basically, he's almost like that character who sort of like had this instant, and he's trying to still capitalize on that career when he was a kid and trying to build something of his own. And they're all trying to find this spectacle that's gonna, and it's also plays into the whole spectacle thing as well, So yeah, so I think the Gordy's Home TV series I think they did a really great job of sort of like making something that seems like a series from back in the day, because they had like Small Wonder, they had all these weird series where you had like an animal or elf or something, so that feels like a real thing. But yeah, I think that's one of those things where they in Hollywood, they use people up until they get to the point where there's a breaking point and something happens, and I think that's what it kind of ties into with that, and also how that storyline sort of ends. I kind of knew from the get-go when they said, we invented the fist pal, and I was like, oh, I think I know where this is going to end.
How fucked up was it that he had that little hidden shrine to like probably the worst day of his life? Hidden in the wall there, Yeah.
Well, I mean,
the bloody shoe and the.
Yeah, because he was still there. He hadn't really grown past that.
He was. He obviously had PTSD. I mean, he was. He had not reconciled what he'd witnessed.
And I'm not sure he learned anything either, because there's a lot of parallels between that and the horse scene at the beginning. With just animals, expecting them to, just expecting them to be something that they're not, right? I think you were saying like tokenizing him, right? Or
well, I mean, he's basically doing the same thing they did to the chimp in the TV series. He's doing that to the alien. So
yeah, the same thing. I mean, it was the balloon, the Mylar balloon popping is what set the monkey off, and the bright, flailing arm things and the stuff of what we're bringing the aliens in, So I mean, definitely the parallels. And the only thing that kind of confused me is how he came to the conclusion, and maybe I just missed it. Like don't look it in the eye. Like don't look at it. If you don't look at it, it can't see you, or it'll pass you. Because
working with animals has been in his entire life.
But I felt like there was some kind of a connection there between that and the monkey thing as well. But I don't know. Maybe I was just. But how would he know that? How would the Daniel Kaluuya thing? How would he know that? How
would he realize it? Well, as soon as he realized it wasn't a ship, right? So at some point, based on its movement and how it was acting and what it was doing, he came to the conclusion, even if we didn't, I think that was part of the surprise, that it's not a ship, that it's actually a creature.
It's a thing, yeah.
And then as soon as he realized that, he put everything together. That's my take.
It just kind of confused me for a minute. I mean, I like the fact that he was able to do that, and the fact that, like what we witnessed at the beginning with the key, the key in the horse's ass, and the dad getting killed by the nickels. It's just that creature expelling the things it can't process. It's just basically taking a shit.
It is. Yeah. Brian, do you have any comments about what we're saying here?
Oh yeah, how long do you got?
All day, buddy.
Bring it on.
All right, so I like the parallels. I like the symbolism, and there's a lot of stuff there that I'm seeing a lot of reviewers sort of miss, and which is fine. After you see it a few times. But I appreciated. There were a lot of different takes on it, and it invites speculation. It invites discussion, and the initial parallel of like the opening shot where we don't realize that we're seeing through the creature, and I believe it fades into there's that. Save the cat, beat sheet thing where it's like you have the opening image versus the final image. So the opening image after the prologue is of course through the creature, I guess, and then it's almost like a projector, and it projects the sort of the guy on the horse. You see the gentleman on the horse, and then flash forward to the ending where that's the final image of him on the horse, more in a sort of stately, sort of cowboy sort of way, and there was just all these different visual motifs and things that I figured Jordan was going to throw in. The use of the chimp and he's sort of taken out of his element, put into this situation that's they think he's trained, but they think they can just put clothes on him and he's going to be okay. And then of course he's just going to act in his natural way. They don't have to necessarily say that the balloon maybe symbolized how he got there. Maybe he was his brethren were shot or something, and he's thinking back to that or something, and that just put him back to his wild his natural state. And then the fact that he's just that one moment where we see that there is a connection between him and the child, and then he's just shot and taken out. I know there are going to be like papers and classes on this movie. The symbolism, and of course, if you're going to go with Jordan Peele, again, it's all speculation, but like racially, by a lot of prejudice, art in history of Hollywood, apes were sort of stand-ins for black and brown people, and so he's definitely showing that aspect, and even that whole idea, that concept of that show, harken back to, you can think back to like there's also Webster, but there was also, some people have mentioned like Long Duck Dong and 16 Candles, and we discussed about like tokenism. So he is bringing that stuff into the film. And then you get into the family of the Haywoods, who are, just trying to get by, make money. They have this long success in the industry, but they're still sort of unknown. They're almost workhorses themselves. They're just brought in, bring your wares, and then the microaggressions on the set, on the soundstage. I mean, unless you've encountered them, you won't recognize them. But the fact that his name is OJ, you don't have to have a historical context to know that. That probably says his dad is old school, knew OJ Simpson when he was more popular as a football player, not as a murderer. So that's where he named his son. And, and so of course Donna Mills' reaction to, oh, your name is OJ. Like, it's a little microaggression. It's like, he had to like, there's so much thrown into this film that a lot of people are missing in the reviews, that I saw it clear as day. So it's interesting that Jordan is able to work on so many levels. Like, he's not going to go to the studio and say, I want to make a movie about all these little microaggressions and things like that. It's just buried in his work. He's giving you the surface level of, this is an alien invasion film. It's told in a different structure. It's almost told like in a novel. I could see him maybe pulling from like the Stephen King sort of vibe, the way it's broken into chapters. And, Tarantino does that too. But I don't like to compare him too much to other artists. I like to say that he is bringing his own voice, because that's so rare in Hollywood right now. And he's doing that. And I hope it inspires more people. But just the divisiveness of the way the reviews are out there, it's kind of scaring me, because if people don't accept art as it is and maybe discuss it and realize, oh, there is something more to it, that it can't just be brushed aside, then we're just going to keep getting the same crap over and over. But I think people need to see the movie a few more times. I mean, the creature itself is impressive. We didn't even get into that in terms of that could, I was thinking earlier today, it's like how humans, we come into this world kicking and screaming, and this thing is taking them out kicking and screaming. That the shape of the creature could even be a metaphor for it's the anti-xenomorph, if you know what I mean. But there's so much going on that I'm excited to see where where Jordan Peele goes, where the discussions go. I think right now everyone's still processing and dealing with it, because they're sort of used to being spoon-fed everything. But there's a lot going on in this film, and yeah, we haven't really, we touched on it a little bit, but the abduction scene is probably the most terrifying thing I've seen in quite a while. It's I just a mass slaughter like that. It brings to mind so many different things, but also it's such a unique concept. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that, and even in other alien films. So he's really taking it to a different level and giving you that nightmarish imagery that lingers. But
yeah, I would agree that scene, along with some others, are incredibly, if not scary, they're very tense.
The sound design too, yeah, just the idea of hearing that it's getting them alive, and then they're suffering, and it harkens back to, even though it's less graphic, but it harkens back to the Blob '88, where when you really think about it, it's it gets its coloring from all the blood of its victims and its entrails, and it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't shit it out. It's just eats everything, and who knows if the sound design is meant to, and it's their screams. It's they're dying and screaming inside the creature. So it's similar to this. How you're just thinking about that.
Yeah, as
So
the
yeah, I
as the
think
saucer or the creatures flying by, you hear the screams. And
yeah, it's like it's almost like a
terrifying.
roller coaster, like a amusement park ride. You just hear people screaming, but they're dying in there. It's
Well,
terrible.
and I think that's what I loved about it because at first you think, well, maybe it just makes that's just a sound. It's meant to sound creepy on, you know,
Yeah,
there's a reason behind it. But then you find no, those are people actually screaming inside of
right,
it that are being eaten alive.
right,
Although, I mean, also some people mentioned that the ship is almost like how Hollywood chews people up and spits them out. You know,
right,
you have
There
that
you go.
aspect as well. But yeah,
right.
I mean, it's like and you know, to add to that, you know, we've always seen like the supernatural horror movies where the walls are bleeding. This one, the thing, well, like Dave said, it basically shits on the house, but
Right.
it's bleeding on the outside of the house, and that's again, that's taking one of those sort of normal horror type tropes and putting it on its ear, you know. But yeah, there's
Yeah.
things like that are just so unique and interesting, you know. And even the when we finally get to see sort of like the final view of this creature,
Mhm.
it's both horrifying and beautiful at the same time. Some people have said that that kind of looks like the biblically accurate version of an angel,
Mhm.
like a biblical
Interesting.
angel, which I've looked at pictures and it could be.
Right.
Although I heard that they did use like sea creatures to sort of like get their idea for it. But yeah, the creature is almost feels like it feels like the wavy men to some degree. It feels like it's made from the same
Yeah,
thing. So
there's a lot of jellyfish
Yeah,
anatomy to it.
that's a jellyfish is a good way of putting it.
yeah, but it's if a jellyfish was like made of plastic or something, you know,
Mhm.
it's almost like the alien is plastic.
And again, I can only I saw when it started like folding in on it, so I was like, what's going on with it? It looks is that I was like, is that a mistake? Is that not supposed to look like that? And then it kept evolving. But another visual I got, again, it's all speculation. This is a Jordan Peele film. I got the imagery of like sails of like ship sails. I don't know
Mhm.
why. It just saw that, and a lot of his imagery is loaded with a lot of contextual imagery, and I don't know if that was something he was going for, but it's I think it's whatever you see, whatever you picture, and
Uh, I
you
was
know
also thinking of an animal that shows its colors
to frighten.
to
Yeah,
frighten its prey because
I was
again it's a
frightened. It
little
was
yeah. 'Cause,
that's I mean there are things on this earth in the water that look like that. We have barely scratched beneath the surface. I'm pretty
well,
sure there are
well,
things down there that will kill you
well,
just by looking horrifying.
well. That and it is almost like a floating camera too. You know, it has
Right.
that
Yeah.
one sort of eye hole, mouth hole, whatever it is, where
Right.
you see
it's
shots
all
through it,
holes in one.
and yeah, I don't know. It's
Which gets back to the opening shot of projecting it through the creature. I think that was his purpose. And you're never quite sure how the mechanics work. It's like they get sucked up and then there's stuff up here, or are they going into the side? Wasn't quite sure how it was going, but
I'm
it's all
not.
horrible.
Yeah.
I know that, but
Well, I
it's
know,
all.
I know. I'm not sure if we'd
Ugh.
want to see more inside of that because it would be
Yeah,
even
I
gruesome.
mean,
it was pretty
I definitely, if I'm sure someone will post a copy of it on you. I need to revisit that scene. Same thing with like Scream 5 when the sheriff got it. I need to see that scene over and over just to get it out of my head because it's just, I can't believe what I just saw.
yeah, I definitely want to see this again, and I didn't see it in IMAX. I saw it just on a regular screen, and I definitely want to head up to the IMAX and see it. I also want to touch on probably one of the best red herring scares in all of
Mm,
cinema in the past decade, at least, maybe since the 2000s. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do a red herring. Not the cat coming out of the fridge or through the window, right? Is to do what he did with those kids and the mask and everything. That scene had me going, had the whole audience going, and I loved it.
I'm iffy on it. I would have liked it to have been genuine, but it was fine. It got the audience going. Overall, I think the movie had more nope. I think there were more nope scenes in Get Out and Us than there were in the movie called Nope.
And nope.
They say it a lot, but I think for true nope moments, you need something a little more smaller scale, and it's just so grander that it didn't quite lend itself to that. You need those creepier, quieter moments, and I think that scene worked for that, but then it sort of expanded into a much bigger spectacle film. So I don't know if it necessarily. That was my take on it. Good
It,
title.
it Well,
it was,
and
it
I
was
felt like,
used to.
well, I felt like that was his sort of nod to M. Night's Signs a little bit, you know, and also trying to throw you off the scent of like, you know, you think you know where this is going because they have all those little stuffed animals and stuff of that alien creature, and so
I thought it was brilliant.
oh, it
thought
made me. I was creeped out. I was like, oh crap, what? And then I was like, aw.
Just to play with us like that, just to
Stupid
give us that
kids. They
scare that we
deserve to be
want.
punched in
And
the
people,
face.
I've seen, you know, I've watched only a few. I didn't want to watch too many. You'd be surprised how many of these reviews went out. But there were some people pointing out that the cameras from the Gordy show look like the aliens. They're sort of the camera on with the double-headed. They look like eyes. They're sort of like peeking out. And I guess the kids are wearing looks like monkey suits. So I guess there's still that trauma that he's carrying over into now his business. There's so much.
They do look like chimpanzees a little bit. That's for sure.
Yeah.
There's the imagery similar.
Although but at the same time, his search for spectacle got his whole family.
Yeah.
and the girl from the show and the woman from the show. And that was another great.
Like that one girl didn't have enough problems having her skin torn off by the chimpanzee.
Yeah.
But I mean, so there's other visuals that really were striking, like when the creatures, during the rainstorm overtop the house, and the rain is like you can see it in the distance, and you get the proximity of it just from the lack of rain outside the window. It's out the way. So I thought there was so much thought and imagery and sound and everything going into this. I was blown away by some of its parts.
Well, they had that like a clicking sound or whatever that you can always know when it was getting close or whatever, and you're like, oh. But yeah, I don't know. There was just how they sort of like. I mean, yeah, he definitely took from the book of Close Encounters when it came to sort of the movement of things and having things hidden by certain things where you're like, oh crap, you're just like you're stuck with them in these moments where you're trying to hide in your seat away from this alien. Just the way they did that, or to where I was like, I was in their shoes too. I was like, I don't know if I would open the door. I don't know if I would run. I'm not sure if I would trust myself to look away. I'm not sure or then I would like go back in the house. What are you doing?
And the clicking definitely had the characteristic of a laugh in some parts. It was almost like it was an evil chuckle or something. Because I think we heard it initially after it threw the horse through the window, and
yeah, that's true.
It's like I was like, oh, that thing's laughing at him.
Yeah, I do like the heroic shot of OJ at the end. Through the out yonder. Once the smoke clears, he's in there. I thought that was a great way to end visually. It was satisfying.
Well, that and how like, I mean, just I love how everything sort of connects and there's a reason behind that, because I guess you'd call it Chekhov's well camera.
Yes, Chekhov's well camera.
Right.
Yeah. To where there's, you see that earlier on, and then for them to utilize that as a way. It also gets back to the old timey, taking pictures, frame by frame type stuff, So I just love, again, I love how they sort of take that and every little thing, whether it's the inflatable jupe,
inflatable jupe. Oh my God,
or things like that, which is made for sort of a fun moment.
What a great shot of that thing facing the creature. Oh, that was great.
And gave it an air fist bump.
Oh my God. It sure did.
Fist burp, I guess, would be better.
So they, we can assume, I guess, it's because like agents that run in at the end, right? That's what I saw. I saw like guys with like shades and suits, or were those police? I didn't get the vibe of police. I got a vibe of like government agents. I'm assuming they came in and killed M and OJ, and that's the end of the movie. They're done.
Oh
They're
no!
God!
No.
That's my take on it. I'm like,
that's a much darker ending than I seen.
Like they show up the minute the thing explodes, and people have been dying for a while. They've been tracking it. I think I don't know.
There was a whole bunch of like news reporters at the very end too, outside the
Maybe those were the reporters. I
Well,
thought I saw some guys with suits and glasses, like they were like agents or something.
It's the
It could have
company
been.
from yeah.
Like,
At first
that's the
at
ending of
first it was-
Jordan's movie, but I think the real
This
ending
guy's going to
is-
go on. At first, I thought everyone was going to come back when the fog started clearing. I thought, oh, everybody that the aliens sucked up in are going to come wandering back, you know.
Oh, no.
But I was like, no, that's not what that is at all.
They painted the side of the house.
Yeah, their guts are inside out by that
yeah,
time.
Yeah, everything about that. I recall there was the movie The Beast, the Peter Benchley movie about the giant squid, and that was the first time I even learned how a squid eats, and it's haunted me ever since. I didn't know there was a beak. There was a beak at the end of all that nightmare, of the arms. There's a beak that shreds you. I'm like, is that what's going on here? That's all I can think of, and yeah, I think that was the playbook he was using here. Horrifying.
Somebody did mention that there was an episode of Star Trek where an alien, they found out the spaceship was actually an alien. So I'm wondering if that may be where Peele might have gotten that idea from.
Interesting.
All right. Well, this it sounds like there's a lot to talk about, and I think we could keep talking about it. And I think years from now, people will be talking about this film still. I think there will be thesis written about this film and all there's a lot said. There's a lot in here, and I can't wait to see it again to kind of absorb that. So let's go ahead and wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. Brian, sir, you are first.
I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I think there's a lot. It's imperfect in terms of the structure. I think it was written in sort of a novel sort of way, but there's so much to unpack. There's so many great visuals and ideas thrown in here that I think it opens up for a discussion and discourse. And I think if people are open to it, they can really get a lot out of it and maybe inspire new material. Favorite scene. I'm sorry if it's anyone's favorite scene, but the abduction, the sucking up into the ship scene. It's haunted me since yesterday. It's gonna haunt me for a while until I get to see it again. I need to see it again because as it was happening, I imagined I actually saw myself in that situation. Like, that's horrifying. Like, it's horrifying. That's all I can say.
Were we just following like random people, or was that looked like Ricky's wife, right?
I couldn't tell who we were following, if it was like random people or just the wife, but it wasn't getting any better. It was just like
it wasn't getting better.
Yeah. It was like watching a plane crash or something. Just a really horrific group, massacre, and there's nowhere to go. It was just horrible, and he really tapped into something there, and I was like, yeah, it earned its R rating there because I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, that's not the F-bombs. All right.
All right.
Dave, sir. Your final thoughts, your score, your favorite scene.
I enjoyed this film quite a bit. It is very layered, that's for sure. I think we're all in agreement. We're going to have to see this a couple more times to fully grasp what it is we're seeing. One of my biggest problems with Peele's earlier works is that I just felt like he was trying to hammer me over the head with his message here. I think he was much more subtle. I think he still made a lot of important points, but he let you come to those conclusions. He didn't jam them down your throat, which I think is maybe the key to, at least for me as a viewer, working a little bit better. When it comes to the horror aspects, this definitely is a horror film. And there's a lot there. A lot there to unpack for sure. Brian stole the best scene. I think we're all in agreement that the abduction scene is in fact the best scene. So I'm gonna have to go with the backup scene of when we visit the TV show set for the second time, and and he's hiding under the table watching all the horror unfold, and the chimpanzee kind of comes to its senses and is getting ready to kind of calm down and do the fist bump, and he has to witness it getting its head blown off. I just thought that was really well done. Really well done. I'm in agreement with Brian. I'm gonna give it a 4 as well. It could maybe even creep up a little higher with repeated viewings.
Yeah, that scene. There's one thing in that scene. There's a lot in that scene that haunts me, but the shoe just standing up by itself.
Yeah, standing upright.
I don't know why that haunts me, but
well, the first time we see it, it was like, what the hell? And the second time, it's like, All right, now I'm just bothered by it.
I know. It's like, what? I need to know what's happening with that shoe. I don't know. Anyway, Christopher G. Moore, your final thoughts, your score, your favorite scene.
Yeah, and let me just say this. I hate it. I hate when people try to rationalize a film as not a horror film. That just annoys me more than anything. And I think at Dragon Con we're actually going to do a panel called the H word. How it's hard for people to call things horror, you know. And I think Peele stuff. I think mostly because I think when he termed social thrillers, people ran with that and like, oh, this isn't a horror film, it's a social thriller, or it's this or that, or even sometimes when it has something as a sci-fi edge to it, they're like, oh, it's in a horror film, you know, when the aliens, it's like a slasher in space. So but anyway, I just get off my back. I hate when people do that. It's there's horrific things in this that are just, you know, all kinds of creepy and scary, and it had me like bent up in the fetal position in my chair. Yeah, I was really gobsmacked by parts of this. I think in the very beginning I was kind of annoyed with the two main characters because they're both like two different versions of two different extremes. You got Keke Palmer's character, he's just annoying. It's like, I gotta do this, and then his other character, he's just like grumpy McGrumperson, and you know, and so you have these two sort of sides of a coin. They're like, but you kind of understand where they're coming from and how they're sort of dealing with things their own way. And by the way, the director in the scene where he had the horse, that's Oz Perkins. Played that director. So, and also if you pay attention to Jupe's office, he has the scissors from Us in there on his desk. So look for that next time you watch it. But yeah, I the stuff involving the UFO or UAPs or whatever they call them now was just mesmerizing and creepy and gorgeous and beautiful, and I think Peele said that he wanted this movie to be one of those things to where if you saw like your first UFO watching this, you'd kind of feel that, and I felt like that, you know. And I've seen visual stuff move that I can't explain, and that's been at night, but I can't imagine during the day, like, oh crap, what is that? Yeah, and I you know, and then there's elements of Tremors in there where they're trying to fight against it, and I love the cinematographer dude, you know, when they get him, or the guy from Fry's, you know, who's trying to help Angel. But yeah, I love the way the story plays out, and yeah, it's a little bit, it's kind of weird how the story goes back and forth. But I really love the characters. I love all the different characters. I love the underlying themes, especially when it comes to Hollywood and how it's treated people of color, you know, or even back in the day, how, you know, the same way they used to treat animals, and just, you know, do what I want you to do, and then they kill them afterwards. You know, how many horses were killed during like old timey westerns, you know, and at the same time, just how the treatment of people of color when it comes to trying to get their foot in the door, you know. And then sometimes the whole tokenism thing comes into it. So yeah, like most Peele stuff, there's always extra layers there that'll be talked about, and like Kubrick stuff, people will probably make up their own Room 232 type stuff about it as well. Stuff that probably was not there or intended to be. But that's the cool thing about films. If you create something that has different layers, people are going to add their own extra layers just because they love it so much. And and I hope this is one of these things that people will study in film classes. And I think a lot of the negativity is probably just, you know, when people get to a certain level and people call them like masters of horror, that's when everybody comes out of the woodworks to start trying to knock people down. And I you know, I think Peele's telling the types of stories he wants to tell, and I think he should get props for that, even if you might not agree, or each film might not be your cup of tea. You can't say that there's not stuff in this that we haven't really seen before. And as someone that's watched a lot of movies, I was really blown away by parts of this, how you can take a UFO type story and put your own kind of spin on it, you know, and have a little bit of meaning to it. That's still entertaining. It's not trying to preach It's not to be overly preachy, you know, and also build its own world, you know, creating a TV series that didn't exist, you know, even getting the guy who used to draw Mad magazine covers and creating a Mad magazine for them, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, that's really cool, that level of detail. So, so I, you know, I think I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it a lot. And I think it might be one of these things where I may watch it again and make up to 5 because I literally have not thought. Even my friend Amanda, we've been talking back and forth about like, oh crap, you know, what about this part and that part? Oh my gosh, or you know, and again, like the Brian's favorite scene, most of our favorite scene, that scene still creeps me out. Just the sounds, the visuals, that far off when you see all those people flying up. And I have a huge fear of tornadoes. So if you have a UFO that can create like a little mini tornado and suck it into it, kill me before it happens, because I don't want to die that way. Please don't kill me that way. So yeah. As for favorite scene, I will say when they injure the creature and we get to see it's sort of like true form. I think when you see that for the first time, it's like seeing a new form of animal or something. You know, it was like seeing the you know, dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. Just seeing that, it's such a beautiful but haunting but creepy thing that where I wouldn't want to be. I'd want to dig a hole and hide from it. I mean, I'd be like mesmerized and crap my pants at the same time. So yeah, I think that just seeing it for the first time is such a unique, interesting visual that's what movies are made for, you know, to create visuals like that'll be forever burned into your brain, you know. So yeah, that's probably, if I can't pick the people sucking in scene,
the one-oared flying purple people.
Oh yeah. By the way, Peele is so great at taking songs you've heard and you think are fun and making them creepy. So,
well, it's, you know, Michael Wincott.
I've got my sunglasses. Wear my sunglasses at night. He made that sound creepy.
Oh, that too. Yeah, yeah. We didn't mention Angel and Holst all that much, and both those characters were fun to have around. They, you know, both of them had their aspects of it. You know, with the stupid praying mantis right in you know, looking at the camera was great. When that thing started creeping down, it's like, what is that? It took a while to figure out it was a praying mantis. And then Holst obsession. The one thing that I'm not sure I entirely got. I mean, I appreciated it and I enjoyed the storytelling of it, but I'm not sure I was 100% behind why he chose to sacrifice himself that way, you know, to go up there and be eaten. But that's another thing. I'm going to watch it a couple more times, see if I can figure it out. It has to do with.
Well, look at all the footage he was looking at.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, he was definitely
animals eating other animals.
Yeah. There's some motivation behind it, and I haven't figured it out yet. But it's I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. The characters are rich. They're fun to follow. I mean, yeah. The friction between them in the beginning is a little off-putting, but once they get into the meat of the story, you know, that bond, you needed that to feel the bond later, you know, that they're having, you know, through this crazy ass story. And then the locale, I think, was just so it's interesting because it's isolated yet it's so vast, right? And it feels like the vast of space or the vast of the ocean, right? And so I found that, you know, fascinating. But if somebody lives on the East Coast where there's trees and mountains all around, you know, to have, you know, something that open just isn't what I'm used to. So I really appreciated that. The storytelling, the stuff that's in there that made me think. There was at least 3 or more times that I was legitimately white knuckled, you know, kind of, you know, I could feel myself tensing up. And, you know, definitely the one scene, the the little alien boys faking until I realized what was going on. That was really cool. And then, some of the house scene was definitely one that I found very thrilling and very tense. And that one felt a lot like, well, that whole scene felt a lot like some of the early parts of Close Encounters, right? With the being in the truck and trying to look out and up, right? And then being in the house. So I'm going to give it a 4.5 as well. And I agree, Christopher. I think that when I go back and see this movie, I have a feeling this might end up being the 5 that it wants to be. But there's this couple little things, right? There's there's some hesitation to the storytelling at the beginning is the way I felt it. And then, just one character, I don't understand their decision. But other than that, the imagination, the technical side of it is all just superb. My favorite scene, I'm going to actually, can I just do a shout out to the Akira bike slide? Come on, he pulled it off. It was the Akira bike slide. She did it. It looked great, right? But I'm going to go with the house scene. The house scene, I thought that whole thing with, from the umbrella effect that the creature gave to, OJ not getting out of the car, the nope, and the horse being digested, not digested, but expelled and landing in the car, the one that M stole from Jupe, from Ricky. I did that scene it's fairly long, and there's a lot of, there's the 3 main characters in it, including Angel. And I don't know, that scene just was like, what's going on? Loved it.
Another bit of speculation. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Hey, go ahead. What you were saying?
Just quick. I was going to say another bit of speculation. I always say speculation because I never assume that it's real. Edward Muybridge is the guy that took the footage, I guess, of the horse, and now we have EM doing the final shot. That was my little last minute little Jordan Peele thing. I think that was intentional.
Well, and we talked about, like you talked about the Kira slide. Actually, the creature at the end, some people are comparing it to a creature from the Neon Genesis of Evangelion, I think the name of it is. But Doc, there's a lot of Jaws references to this too. In the same way they shoot the thing to connect the barrels to the shark. Mm-hmm. The same way they connect the thing of flags
yep.
to it.
Yeah. How long have we been staring at that poster with the what we thought was like?
I thought it was a kite.
The tail of a kite, but it's the flags, right? How long have we been staring at that, wondering what it was? And I would never have thought that's what it was.
Well, and I think also that's the cool thing about it. Each of the things, I think he creates these interesting visuals that you automatically connect with it. And it's very simple, whether it's the little wavy guys or like just a cloud with that little sort of, like flags you see like the cars salesman lot or something. But yeah, those things that you so automatically connect with it, and you're like, oh, that's that film, or Us, you have like the scissors and the red outfits and stuff. So,
and Lucky the horse said, "I am not stepping out of this gate." I'm staying right here.
Yeah, he was saying nope in horse language.
And you notice Ricky had the design on his jacket.
On the back of it.
I guess. Yeah.
And I also like that whole the cinematographer immediately saw that the cloud wasn't moving, but the cloud was always there.
Well, as some of the filmmaker and edit stuff,
you look
for continuity, and I think that he just automatically has the eye because he's looking at like I look at a computer screen all the time editing and stuff, and you see sometimes you see the little things that normal people may not notice, and so it's another way of bringing people with different perspectives to sort of like add something extra to what they're trying to figure out.
OJ said, I've been looking at that cloud for the past 6 months. Never had no idea, and I wouldn't have any idea. I'd just be looking at that cloud. I don't know if I'd ever. You wouldn't think, right? That's not what we think. So I have a feeling this movie's going to it's going to age really well.
Oh yeah.
That's my prediction. I think right now there's a little because I think expectation was Little Green Men, right?
Mm-hmm.
People wanted an alien film, and they got
an alien
feature.
film.
They got a creature feature, and I don't think they were ready. I don't think they were ready for it.
You had a couple leave the last 10 minutes of the film from the theater. So
okay. All right. Well, there's our review for Nope. I'm sure you have your thoughts, and we'd love to hear what they are. Leave some comments down below. And of course, if you enjoyed this review, or we hope you will hit the like button, the share button, subscribe button, even better. Thank you all very much. And Dave, Christopher, Brian, thank you for joining me. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Glad to finally be able to talk about it. A huge
no expense spared. Look at that. No expense spared. No expense spared.
That's really funny.
if you're hiring for Nope 2,
Nope 2.
do the special effects. more Noper.
Nope to the budget. All right,
nopiest.
The nopiest. Y'all terrible. All right, let's say goodnight.
Night.
Good night.